Beautiful day, family. All right, hopefully everyone can hear me. Okay, it looks like we're good. I got the speaker here. I noticed yesterday in the live, I should have had my speakers on because it was hard to hear me. All right. And I'm going to check actually right now. Let me check and see if you all can hear me real quick. Let's just check because lives are a little different. So let's check. Okay, yep. Y'all can hear me. We are in business. All right. All right, family. I just got done making dinner, but we're not going to focus on food today. I did a live yesterday, whipping up food and having a chat with y'all. So you can go back and review that. All right. Just take a look at it. I know I use my teacher words. Just go back and watch it if you want to look at me making a meal and having a conversation. This live, we're going to be really me sharing the download that I received, and this is a future prediction. All right, so what I saw was there's going to be another catastrophic natural disaster. I'm not exactly sure where, but it does look like about 140 to 167 people are going to unfortunately lose their life in this event. So this is why it's so important, that people are preparing. Now, I want to talk about this really quick because this is not going to be the only event, right? We've been seeing, different things happening. We are in a shift right now. So you all hear me talk about this. And in ancient texts, they talk about an end time. So they talk about a time in which there is, a death of one era, and then there's a birth of a new one. So end times is very important. These may be similar to what you could think of in the Bible as a rapture. Now we need to understand what is actually happening though. Right now, we are experiencing an explosion of information. This is so that people have a greater sense of choice because you have to make a decision, and that is setting you on a course, a path. So, this is why this is so important. All right. So, we understand that people are preparing, right? Doing what you need to do, you and your family, planning, right? Here on this channel, of course, we focus on the things that are particularly in my purpose, which is in family and community constructing. That is my purpose. So the various forms of poly relationships, which are the relationship structures that build community. Okay. Because humans by natural design are polyamorous. Most humans, right? Of course, you have exceptions to the rules, depending on life paths, but for the majority, okay? So I'm saying all this to say people tend to leave that last, right? Okay, you're just kind of going with the flow of everyday life, but you're not taking the time to really invest in learning relationship and community skills because you're going to need them. It's just as important, I would say, even more important as the survival aspect of it, right? The survival aspect of food, shelter, water, clothing, that's important. But relationships and understanding relationship structures, that's the foundation of community. because we are human beings. All right. And the driving force behind communities is love. So relationships. Okay. So that taps into spirituality, right? Spirituality is not, I did a divination the other day, and that was a live divination on YouTube. That's not what spirituality is. Spirituality in this human realm is your ability to build community and contribute to your community and tribe. That's in your family and your bloodline. That's spirituality. Now you can use different things as tools, but that's not what spirituality is in essence. Okay? So spirituality is also, right, getting to know yourself, inner work, shadow work. All right. And that contributes to, when you do that, your level of success or ability to build community. All right. So that was the download that I received. Okay. So that's coming. And this is important that we realize, because since we have a greater sense of choice right now, humans have free will. This means you're not just born into a circumstance. Right now, the decisions, right now, where you are on your path is a result of the decisions that you've made over your life. And then towards when you transition, it determines the next life. So if you get born into a certain situation, right? For instance, let's talk about myself. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, into a family where you have dysfunctional polydynamics, and I'm a middle child, and it's poverty, right? Now, the reason I was born in that circumstance in America is because of where I left off in previous lives. I am 100% responsible for where my soul goes. That's the truth. All right. So I'm going to tell you the hard truth here. Now free will is tricky, because it's not like you can just do whatever you want, right? It doesn't work like that. There's bounds, there's limits, there's laws, right? Universally, that are guiding, us making decisions on our path, right? But we don't just get to do whatever we want, right? Meaning that there's consequences, right? There's consequences, and the Most High is always like in control, truly. Even if we think our egos, even if we think we are. But okay, so I want to talk about this real quick, because I was in a store one day. I was in Trader Joe's, and it was a woman of European descent. And she came up to me and my husband. She saw that my husband's shirt said "Drink sea moss," and she was just so intrigued. She was just intrigued. She probably was just noticed something was different about us, right? Because we're spiritualists, right? We do the work, and we're masters. And so she came up. She asked, "What does drink sea moss mean?" So my husband started telling her, about his sea moss. He's the number one sea moss vendor in the Carolinas, Supreme Well-being. My husband's name is Oais El Mansour. And so as they were talking, she was like, "Oh, okay." So she wanted to know a little bit more about what I do, like spiritually, And I was telling her, well, I'm an oracle, and I talk about various forms of indigenous family practices. Polyamory being one of them, divine polyamory, and I told her, about sister wife education. We started talking about that stuff, and then I sent her my website, and I showed her and everything. And she asked an interesting question, and I do think it was sincere, right? I'm an oracle, right? I could typically tell if someone's asking a question from ego or if it's sincere, you know. So maybe a little bit of both, but I do feel like she genuinely wanted to know. So the question that she asked was, why can't everyone have access to do what you do, like as an oracle? And I said, because it's a high responsibility and it's based on your soul's journey. I've been reincarnating for a very long time on Earth. I've been reincarnating as what you would consider an African woman um, in my lifetimes. So this is something that I did not have a choice to do. You understand? I had to have sacrifices, and I've been pulled away from things that, you know, could have been, interesting to me to do at certain times. But I got pulled to do what I'm doing, right? And even to this day, right? Because I don't have a choice, right? So when we talk about, I saw this indigenous woman speaking about the life path of a shaman, and she was saying how, when shamans get picked to do that work, they typically don't want to live that. They don't want to do it because the level is very hard, right? You don't want to live this life, like you don't, right? I'm not saying that I'm not fulfilled, right? There's a sense of fulfillment because I'm doing what the Most High wants me to do. I'm living my purpose, but it is not always pleasant. It's not always fun, and the consequences are higher, right? The consequences are much higher. And we're talking about soul consequences, okay? That's not something to play with. You're talking about something happening to your children's children's children. You don't want to play with that, So try the Most High if you want to, okay? And I'm only saying that from experience, okay? Because on Earth, you know, you're going to have karmic debt, right? Because you're going to make mistakes, right, in this existence because you need to learn lessons, right, and evolve. So for me, this is what it was. So I'm just here because this is an obligation. Okay, I didn't have a choice. So I kind of was breaking this down to her, and I was saying that, basically the importance of oracles and communities. I was basically trying to explain to her, really, I'm just a medium. I'm just a medium. But really, it's just to give you tools and access to your higher self, right? It's not like I'm not deity. I'm not to be deified. I'm in human form, right? It's to give people the access to the tools to become their own master, right? So we call this in our community, knowledge of self, right? And not knowledge of self from like a romanticized thing. Knowledge of self meaning the true knowledge of who you are, not figuring out information that's saying, oh, we come from America, not Africa. You're speaking for other people's bloodlines. No, speak for your own bloodline. Okay. That's what I did. My journey of knowledge of self, I made direct contact with my ancestors. I got direct uploads for myself. I did past life, you know, information to get that, through my reincarnations. So yeah, that's me getting knowledge of self, right? Okay. So I just wanted to share that quick story because, I think in this day and time, we have to understand that we do not just exist in this reality. We have souls. We are soul and flesh. And so a part of this reality is for us to learn. That's why we're here. That is the only reason. Well, you know what? I take that back because y'all know that's the educator in me. We are here to learn. But I had one of my babies in the community. They call me Mama Asha. So I had one of the babies in the community with this poly family that I work with and build community with. I asked her. I call her Zamora. It's a little funny insider because she reminds me of like the Guardian of the Galaxies. But anyway, so I'm like, Zamora, you know, why did you come to planet Earth? Right, we're planning a pool, and she was like, to have fun. And I was like, you know what? This little baby on to something, something that I don't know about, because child, this is my life have been a little less than that. I have fun times. But she was saying it like an existence. How I took it. I'm not saying that she understood it like that. But she did a whole little ballerina there. She said to have fun. And she did a little ballerina thing. I said, you know what? Yeah, she on the side. I need to tap in with that frequency. They're very special children, we got special children with the Mahi community. So, you call me Mama Asha and we in community, you a special child. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was like, okay. Anywho, that's a little sidebar. So if I'm thinking of, we could put hers with mine. So we're in this reality to learn and we can have fun while doing it. All right. So that was the upload that I got, and I'll share more. So today we are on day 5 of the 7-day YouTube live challenge. So I'm going 7 days live every day. And in those times, you can receive spiritual messages, live divinations, story times to get a little bit more, personal with me about my life. And y'all, I just like that little story that I shared with y'all. I've had so many experiences where it's just like this short interaction or just short thing that just happens. I have just so many stories. Like I've just not lived a normal life at all. Like I have so many stories. I have like so many stories. And um I just, I'm grateful, but it's not easy to live a life like that, you know. I definitely be craving stability and normalcy sometimes, you know. But we all get called to do. We have to do, and I'm saying that because in community, with us, we all have our different roles, and you know, don't always look at what somebody else is doing or have and desire that, because you really don't know what hidden challenges and things that they go through behind the scenes. I got a whole kitchen to clean up. I didn't even get to eat because I actually was making my food a little longer than it took, which is fine because I'm, trying out different meals, trying out different things, while simultaneously having to learn more on my entrepreneurship journey. And I'm reading this book that my husband gave me to learn, that, about funnels, generational wealth, is very important to me because I was not born with generational wealth, and that's a generational curse, right? Those are karmic laws, So I paid my karmic dues, but now I have to establish that wealth consciousness and build that out with my family. So, it's a lot of responsibility with that. So I have to do that simultaneously while I'm planning for our next event. Okay, so this is going to be June. Y'all stay on the lookout for the Mahi Community, event education. You can start with our. We have polyamory introductory courses on school. You can start with that. And we also just have like an introductory course, the Divine Femininity and Masculinity Academy course that gives you like a basic rundown of our spiritual life system that I was initiated in for 7 years. This predates me, and my teacher was a man of African descent. So shout out to him. And yeah, so I have a lot to do. Like I feel like I'm just like moving around. So that was Master Yao. Yeah, Master Yao. So, but yeah, I'm like, my mind is like, whew, on a million things, y'all. The to do list, and we all have things to do, right? We got work to do. I still didn't even get to eat yet, but I told y'all getting on this live today. And I believe we have 2 more days. Ooh, y'all, these bugs in North Carolina is so big. Ooh, child. Oh my gosh. Ooh, look, clip over. But yeah, okay, so yeah, so I feel good about kind of where everything is, and glad that we got this live today. And yeah, and let me know anything that any questions that you all have, um, that you may want me to ask Spirit or the Oracle. You know, there's different systems or tools you can use, right? So I have some different tools I use. So yeah, let me know a question you want me to ask the Oracle. So yeah, all right. Make sure it's not coming from ego and it's a genuine question. You know, but if it's real personal, like about your specific situation in life, I'll have to do that divination personally. So you can schedule that one-on-one at AshaSekhmet.com. I do divinations. I do purpose divinations. Hey, baby. Aw. Y'all, my hubby is the absolute amazing. He's the best. He supports me, and he is just, I'll be blushing. My hubby is the truth. Y'all don't understand. So many brothers can. My hubby just gems, yo. Like, brothers don't understand how much they can learn from him. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much money or success you have and what title. My husband, you can learn so much from him. Like, humble yourself. Seriously. Like, crazy. Like, where he is spiritually, y'all have no idea. Yeah, you want to tap in with Oasis because he been coaching, men, and he can definitely give you a lot of guidance. So support what the brother is doing, seriously, and I mean that even not even just monetarily. Like, yes, we need that. That's important, but really try to understand the value of what he's doing to his purpose. Like we be talking about that, and that that's disheartening to me, you know if a brother not really seeing his light, you know, I don't do well with that, you know. But at the same time, it's for who it's for. So we don't force nothing at the end of the day either. I'm more about alignment. Y'all, I know y'all see me playing with these bugs. I'm more about alignment over anything. Yeah. Dang. Okay, yeah. It was a little spider. Y'all, I'll just be like, flow, not force. Yes, baby. I know that's right, baby. Yeah. We about alignment. Yeah. We're not gonna force nothing. So at the end of the day, you see our light and you really like, F with us, then support, like the video, share. That's a whole big thing. That's the most minimal way to support us. Just share our information. Hey, we this is what we got going on. This the sister, she drops down. She's the face of poly, literally. Talk about all different forms of heterosexual poly and spirituality. This brother right here, he is the number one CMOS vendor in the Carolinas. His name always hit him up. His stuff is straight authentic. Just share. MySupremeWellbeing.com. Of course, he has his herbs and everything on there. And I have a Yoni tea for women on there too. So, you can get one for you and your sister wives. Look, it helps in it helps in the bedroom, right? When you're smelling right, you're smelling like flowers, and your yoni is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, having natural cycles, and the center of your womb center, you connect it to her, the center of your power. All right. So yeah, y'all could go on his website and order, herbs. He got some for men too. So we got the I be stroking. You need to get those capsules. Help you with prostate health for the men. Okay. You got a couple, married couple watching or poly family watching, the husband, the wives. There you go. And then anybody, I always talk about that. We all look. We always center back into poly because y'all know that's the passion there. And the reason is because poly equals community. That's why. And I love nothing more, and I am committed to nothing more than I am community. So that's why I'm passionate about poly. There we go. Yeah, because I did learn that in my initiations. And even you all know that we practice Tantra in the Maji community. So, announcement, the Tantric lifestyle requires polyamory. That's what the Tantric lifestyle is for us. I'm not going to criticize or critique someone else's thing that they doing. I let the Most High, like, cool, hey. But I'm letting y'all know how I've been initiated and what I have learned. One, with Tantra, right, between a biological man and a biological woman, you cannot do that in same sex or by yourself. And then two is the tantric lifestyle requires non-monogamy. Okay, because I received my direct instructions from the Most High, and it has a will, and it is not playing. Okay, it's not playing with us. So, we can't come from ego when we looking at this stuff. All right. So, yeah. So tap in if you want to learn more about Tantra. I got some things coming out. So, but you can book with me. Just schedule a spiritual consultation with me if you want to learn more, and we can look and see if it's a good fit. And we can also just look at your life. Just kind of see, how you would use it or whatnot. But it is a very sacred practice. Right? Everyone is not meant to practice Tantra. I take that work very serious. So, yeah. But if you are a man, I do offer Tantra. I offer long distance sessions, so you can receive those anywhere in the world, and they are just as effective as in person. The purpose is to help you become your highest and greatest version of your masculine self, activating your masculine DNA. So my skill set is really in, you know, DNA regeneration on an energetic level, because there's other aspects to who we are. We have other bodies, not just cellular bodies, but we have an auric body and even more bodies than that. So what I can do is go into your field, and I can remove, negativity blockages, and then get you in alignment with your soul. So it's really activating the supernatural part of who you are as a man. So you can go on my website, AshaSekhmet.com, to schedule that with me. Reach out to me also, if you may have some type of condition or something and you're kind of curious about it, right? Because I do not accept all, male clients. So if you have something that you're looking at, you can, run it by me, consult your primary physician, of course, because we want to just keep everyone safe, right? Everything is not for everyone. Okay. But if you are wanting to tap into, if you are wanting to tap into more of the supernatural and alternative path, which is really the original path, but we're going to go with it, the alternative path from Western medicine or Western life, which nothing is wrong with it. It's just if you're looking for alternatives, because it's not the only, modalities of, health that exist, but yeah, so, it's really about, what is your life path, and then seeing, but there is ways that these things overlap too, right? So it just depends, so just hit me up. Um, you can fill out a contact form on my website if you're interested in just inquiring a little bit more about the long distance sessions. All right, spiritual consultations, and then for our school community, that's where we have our library of courses. I have a poly talking points document. We have the functional polyamory guideline. We have the divine community ebook and workbook, which is super powerful. I highly recommend getting both of those. And shout out to my brother Castellano, because he was saying I need to up some of my membership prices because really we try to make this where no matter where you are, everyone have access, right? And social economic class does not prevent you from getting this richness of information. But it's only if you can see it. If you can see it and you get ahead of time while things are where they are now, then that'll be in your benefit and your bloodline benefit. But if you don't, then I mean, hopefully you get it one day, you know. But we want to have action behind what we're doing. We don't want to just eat popcorn and just watch stuff, right? We want to take action. Hop on a call, schedule a one-on-one, get an ebook, start reading, and that's how you are communicating with spirit that you're putting in the work. Right? We got to put in the work, okay? And then we have really powerful calls, so you feel a sense of community, but we choose you just as much as you choose us, right? And in this day and time, when I say that we all have a greater sense of choice, the point of the variation of the human existence is so that people have a choice, to choose where do you fit in. There's different forms of faith systems, right? Different religions, right? Different spiritual communities, right? So that it just helps you figure out where you're supposed to go. All right. Alignment. So we go back to alignment. So yeah, so this was a really good live. I appreciate the support. Make sure you all like this video and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, let me know in the comments, anything that you all want to see in the next 2 lives I think I have left. Let me know anything you wanna, or any topics too. If there's particular topics that you want me to talk about, just let me know. All right, I'm about to eat this food. I gotta clean up. The list never stops. All right, love you guys.